Hey guys, and welcome back to Yugioh Everything. My name is Pete, and today we're continuing the next episode in a little segment here on the channel that we like to call Legacy Reviews. If you've not been by the channel before, or you've never seen this segment in your life, it is a segment where I review the older Yu-Gi-Oh shows here on the channel. The first three, in fact, Duel Monsters, GX, and 5Ds. I go in sequential order. We put them together all in one big video, and I am someone who has never seen any of the shows whatsoever. I have no idea what's going to happen, and so hopefully that provides a fresh perspective on the series to you guys out there listening. There will be timestamps down below if you guys want to skip around and only see one specific episode, but with all that stuff out of the way, we are going to start this week on episode 8 with Duel Monsters, and the episode being called Stolen Blue Eyes White Dragon. Alright guys, so kicking it off on episode 8 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters Stolen Blue Eyes White Dragon. This episode was really good. Really enjoyed it. I would say it was a very plot-heavy episode. So far, probably one of the most plot-heavy episodes that we've had in the first 8 episodes of Duel Monsters. And I love plot episodes. If anyone knows me, I love plot. Sometimes in these Yu-Gi-Oh shows, it's someone who's, not very familiar with the card game and, still learning the intricacies of, like, all the little moves and spell and trap cards that you could use. I love when I get the story and get the plot, get the characters' motivations going. So this episode definitely provided a lot of that. So the episode starts off with a character that we don't know the name of at the time. It's a little boy climbing down the side of a castle, very Rapunzel-like. Tied a whole bunch of bed sheets. It looks like he's, escaping not only from the castle, but it's more like it's a prison. That's a very prison technique that you'd be using kind of the elements around you and using bed sheets to kind of climb outside the tower. And he falls, somehow doesn't die or break his back, even though he holds it a little bit. And he makes it to the bottom. He escapes. He has a bandana on and a hat. And right away, I knew this character had to mean something. Not just because, we're focusing on him from the top. Because, we could do that with any character that's going to be in a 2-episode arc. More so the little details that he is an M on his hat. And so that makes me think like, hey, we haven't seen anything really advertised of an M, called lead company so far in the first, 7 episodes before this. So it makes me think very anime-like, very cartoon-like, that character must mean something. And I ended up being right as the episode went on. But he escapes. Kind of the guard comes in and is like, it's time to eat, and then does, the classic Nani and sees that he's gone. And we find out, as we expected, that it is Pegasus's castle that this character was imprisoned. I mean, let's just call it what it is. He was straight up in prison. And I love how when the guard goes to Pegasus, and Pegasus is, he's eating some cheese, he's drinking the world's finest wine, and he's reading a comic book that I believe was called The Funny Rabbit. You can correct me if I'm wrong down below. And he's just laughing, having a good old merry time, sitting up there, very aggravated a little bit that his guard is, interrupting him when this is the happiest he says when he's doing all of these things. And the guard gets, a little apprehensive because not only he's interrupting his boss, his master, but also he's going to tell him some bad news that, hey, this child that you've imprisoned in your tower, yeah, he escaped. And I love how Pegasus so far through the series he's classic villain, he has the laugh and all that stuff, but he's very, not only calculated, but he's so nonchalant about everything. Like, he's literally like, there's no need to worry. Like, boom, pulls up the camera, pulls up the big TV, it, comes down from the ceiling, and there's an AI talking to him about what's going on. And he's like, I know what the kid's gonna do. I know what he's about. I know why he's escaping. And I love how the way he just words things when he goes, oh, he escaped? Oh, I guess he just really didn't appreciate our hospitality. Like, he's just so... It's not even... He's definitely ego-driven, but I think it's more that he's so nonchalant. Like, I can't think of a better word if you could think of one down below. Like, he just doesn't care. Like, I don't know if he is really thinking he's providing hospitality to these people and he's, like, surprised when his prisoners want to escape, or he's just so... like sarcastic in the way he described things. I think it's kind of a mix of both. So I really did love that sequence. And so he tracks him throughout his TV that comes down, and the AI actually gives some interesting perspectives on kind of what is going on the island on here on Duelist Kingdom. So, the They say, hey, you know, it started with 40 contestants, 12 have been eliminated. I don't know if that counts as 13 technically because of the other boy that we'll see later in the episode, that this said character here that escaped Pegasus' castle robbed, or he's included in the 12, but, you know, they're all getting out of there. They're all the losers. They're all leaving by boat. And Pegasus is so focused on, hey, what about him, he says. And so the AI array knows who he's talking about. He's talking about Yuki and says, hey, you know, he has 5 of the star chips. And he's like, oh, wonderful, great. I need him to keep winning to the castle. And so initially I've been thinking throughout the series that he just wants the challenge. He knows he is Yuki's grandfather, and he wants the challenge of, oh, hey, I want to face Yuki. He beat Kaiba. And I want to be the one to take him down, just to kind of humiliate him and take away his grandfather for good. But we see that there's a little more motivation of why he wants to fight Yuki so bad. And I love how he's just like, you know, I'll be ready at the proper time. And he just laughs and it kind of zooms out. Pegasus so far has been a very interesting and great character, great villain so far, even though he hasn't done too much. So we jump back to our crew. Yuki and the gang, and, you know, they hear, you know, a scream in the distance, and it's this boy that I previously said who's screaming to let him go, and he's claiming that someone has stolen his star chips, they've stolen his deck, and if you don't have that stuff, you don't have any star chips, you don't have any deck, you're going to be automatically disqualified and eliminated off the island. You know, so we get our boy Hondo in there, is trying to be Mr. Tough Guy, and he does some kind of cool flip to the guard, and he thinks he got him, and then the guard kind of does, you know, very karate style flips in the air, lands on his feet, and then takes out Hondo in 1 second. So far in the series, Hondo has been pretty useless so far, so we kind of just play into that trope. But the guard explains that, yeah, you're just going to be, those are the rules, you're going to be deported from the island when you lose that, and stuff like that. And I like when they go to the boat, and the kid is, you know, thrown into the boat, and Haga's there, and he still is like, hey, you know, I won the Japan Nationals, and pushes the kid away, like, hey, give me some room. And later in the episode, you see, too, like, he's not even rowing when they're leaving the island, because he still regards himself as better than everyone else, because he was #1 in Japan. Meanwhile, he was, like, one of the first people to lose, and Yuki just wiped the floor with him completely as he bet both his star chips. So I thought that was pretty funny, and kind of speaks more to his character, that he's not humbled at all in his loss. He's still the same type of person. But Yuki, being Yuki, as we've seen so far, is going to be the noble soul, kind of wants to find out the mystery, and is like, hey, boat leaves in 30 minutes. If we could find this guy and get back your deck and your star chips, can this kid stay on the island? And they're like, yeah, you got 30 minutes. So they go out and they try to look for him, and Jinochi makes, like, you know, a funny comment of like, yeah, and we're going to take half your star chips if we win as payment. And I don't know if he was being serious, and then, like, the way his friends reacted is why he said, oh, I'm only joking, or was he joking the whole time? Who knows? Wouldn't be surprised if he actually wasn't joking in the first place. So Yuki tries to spring a trap where he's like, oh, you know, the criminals often return to the scene of the crime. And hey, you know, we'll just kind of wait for him. And this kid, boom, pops out of the bushes instantly. He has the bandana on and the M on the hat. And I love how he's just going, Yuki, like, you know, like he's saying it like with so much emotion behind his eyes. You can see the tear in his eyes. And Yuki just goes, oh, I think he's here for me. Yeah, no shit, Yuki. I mean, like, what gave you the first clue? Him saying that? Like, and that's why he's here for you? So, you know, Yuki automatically takes the duel. And everyone's wondering, of like, you know, why would he do this? Why would he risk his 5 chips? Isn't this kid just going to escape anyway? Like, this is a waste of time. And it's Anzu who points out that, like, hey, maybe Yuki knows who this is, and that's why he took the duel. And so, you know, they're playing around a little bit, and, you know, they're saying, oh, you know, he's definitely the thief because, A, obviously he has the 5 star chips, but B, he doesn't have a duelist glove on him. He didn't even take that from the kid. And it just cuts back to, you know, kind of the kid going, hey, I'll avenge my brother. And it goes back to a flashback scene of where now we get to see who this character was. If you didn't know already, I mean, I clearly, I was like, okay, he's related to Kaiba. You know he has to be. And we get the character's name in Mokuba. So Mokuba is Seto Kaiba's younger brother. And it cuts back to how, I think this was an interesting scene, not only because it shows several plot devices moving forward, but it also shows that how broken Seto Kaiba has been since Yuki defeated him all the way back in episode 1. That thinking that, oh, cards are about power, and Yuki saying, no, they're about the heart. The heart is in the cards, the heart of the cards. That's how I defeated you. That's how I was able to overcome the great Seto Kaiba. And Seto is almost tortured by what Yuki said of like, oh, look at all these great cards. He has three Blue Eyes White Dragons. They don't mean anything. It's just about that I don't understand what is going on, what I have to give to be better than someone like Yuki. And he goes, listen, in my current state, he tells Mokuba, I cannot defeat Yuki whatsoever. And I like just the back and forth of Mokuba telling probably what his brother preached forever, that no, brother, that's not true. You can. It's about power in the cards, and Kaiba kind of understanding a higher form, I would say, of dueling, a higher form of an understanding of kind of the relationship that you're supposed to have with your deck, that you're supposed to believe in it, and you're supposed to have the heart in the cards. And Kaiba goes, oh, I have to leave. I have to kind of discover this, and I have to move on, at least for a while. Watch the company. He tells Mokuba, who's probably, what, 8, 10? He tells this 10-year-old kid, yeah, watch over the company, this massive worldwide corporation for me. But he gives him an interesting piece. He throws him a card, and he says that, hey, this card on it has, basically a way to have all the most important documents of Kaiba Corporation on it. Keep it safe. And so that plays in big to a couple scenes later. And Mokuba's very distraught that, that his brother is leaving. He's obviously building up some hatred towards Yuki because he sees that his brother is downfall, and then later his brother's entire corporation, of him being the president of Kaiba Corporation, everything is collapsing, and he's all pinpointing it back to Yuki. It is totally Yuki's fault that he broke his brother. And as the duel goes on, Yuki knows who it is already. I mean, we know, obviously, as an audience, and Yuki just straight up says, like, as he's taunting him, hey, you can't beat me. This game is not so simple that you're going to be able to beat me with a stolen deck, a deck that you don't believe in. When you're not even a duelist here, you stole the chips, you're a thief. You ain't going to be able to do that. And he goes, oh, I knew, Mokuba goes, shut up, basically, it's about power in cards. It's not about having the heart in cards. And Yuki goes, I knew it was you, but that basically confirmed it. You're Mokuba. You're Seto's younger brother. And so he gets him to take off his whole outfit, and he explains more of the situation of what's going on. And what's going on is not that Seto left the company and he's going basically on a retreat, a hiatus, a sabbatical, you would say, of just discovering a higher power of dueling to understand, to be on Yuki's level. It's more very realistic and very corporations-like of Pegasus, being slimy, being a snake, coming in, and he was waiting for this moment, as Mokuba said. And so he broadcasted it and told everyone worldwide of Kaiba's defeat. And obviously, dueling, as I'm beginning to learn, has extreme weight in this world. And the news of that, the news of Yuki, who no one really knows. I mean, this is just some nobody to most of the world. They don't know he is the Millennium Puzzle. They don't know what he probably represents. And Pegasus makes a play, saying like, hey, I think that you should transfer basically control. I should be the next president of Kaiba Corporation because the investors are losing faith while Seto Kaiba is not only gone, but that he lost, and it's a monumental blow to the stock shares, to the profits of the company. And so it's perfect. It's perfect for someone like Pegasus to come in and swoop in. And the company goes, yeah, you know what? We will totally make sure that Seto is not the president anymore and that you have full control of the assets of this company. But you need to do one thing. You need to beat Yuki because he's the one that damaged the reputation of this company so poorly. And I really thought that was interesting of just how quickly that one duel, one downfall for someone like Seto Kaiba can hurt the image of the company so bad. But I guess I could also understand it because to the outside world, like I said, he's a nobody. So this great duelist, this head of your company, someone that has been so profitable probably for you, to be beat by a nobody, it would make any investor, any group, any board question, oh, maybe this guy's leadership or this guy's mystique about him is not what we thought it was, and we definitely need to replace him, and we need to bring in someone else. And why wouldn't we bring in someone who, I would assume Pegasus has some type of his own corporation, will bring in someone so successful, seemingly so much more powerful, and he could kind of absorb or step into that role for our company. And so investors, that's just how they're going to think, that, you know, there's business is business, right? That there's, even if they have respect for Seto, or they did, or maybe there's some family ties or kind of some sentimental value, it doesn't matter in business, and they got to go to someone who they think is going to be more successful, and that's Pegasus. So they say, hey, if you could defeat him, boom, it's yours. And he goes, oh, you know, that'll be easy. So now we get the backstory of why he challenged Yugi, why he took his grandfather's soul, basically, to bait Yugi into this tournament, and why, under the masquerade, under this idea of Duelist Kingdom, of to have all the great duelists, he doesn't care about any of those other 39 people that came to the island. He cares about Yugi. He cares about Yugi because he needs to defeat Yugi on a world-like stage, so that Kaiba's board turns over control of the corporation to him. So we now in episode 8, we kind of get the plan, the revolving door in motion. And the board says one more thing to Pegasus. They say, Kaiba gave his younger brother Mokuba control of the most important documents, and so, you know, can you get that for us? And that reveals why Mokuba was in prison, or in Pegasus's words, given great hospitality. He even says that to the board. He tells the board, like, oh, you know, we'll give him great hospitality, and he'll be begging to tell us, you know, where those documents are, because Mokuba hid the card. He's not telling Pegasus where he put that. But, like, for the board, right, like, I understand you care about profits and all that, but, like, you're adults, right? Like, you're supposed to abide by not only laws, but some kind of morality. And you see Pegasus's bodyguard doing a rear naked chokehold to this 10-year-old kid, or 8-year-old kid, or whatever he is. And on top of being very sinister that he's clearly going to torture or imprison this kid in some way against his will, he's taking him to his island just to figure out where those documents are. Like, I know corporations can be ruthless, but, like, that's pretty bad ethics on the side of Kaiba Corporation's board. Like, they didn't care at all that was happening to Mokuba whatsoever. Oh, you're this 8-year-old kid? Yeah, take him. Why not? It doesn't matter that your guard's rear naked chokeholding him. Don't matter. Get those documents back and beat Yugi for us, wouldn't you, buddy? Thank you. All right, we'll make you president. Like, it's pretty fucked up if you really think about it. But it kind of explains more of the backstory of the motivations of our characters, of why this tournament is going on, and why Mokuba has this deep-seated hatred towards Yugi. Misdirected, yes, but you can understand why he's like that. His brother leaves, the corporation goes down, he's imprisoned, he's being tortured, all because of Yugi. Yugi's the one that he's regarding as the one setting it in motion, and the one that is completely at fault, and that's why he wants to duel him. He doesn't get even a single lick on Yugi before no one even somehow notices that he climbed all the way down from his duel stand there in the ring and was able to once again, boom, steal the 5-star chips. And Anzu is the one that goes, oh, this is Mokuba's plan. This is why he's doing it. If he gets Yugi disqualified and he steals Yugi's star chips, which would get him, you know, kicked off of the island, but that means that Yugi technically didn't lose a duel. Therefore, him not losing a duel means that Pegasus is void. His agreement is void with the other 5 members of the board, because either someone else or Pegasus himself didn't destroy Yugi's reputation of being the one that defeats Kaiba, and also the one that keeps winning and winning. He defeated Haga now. He's defeated, Rota, we've seen, who was 3rd in Nationals. Like, he's defeated all these people. If someone, Mokuba or some no-name, defeats him or he's disqualified, now it takes away, so no-name beat him or Pegasus beat him, he can't even lose. So now Pegasus can't take over the corporation. So Mokuba is kind of taking the risk out of it. He knows he can't beat him. He doesn't want to take the risk that someone else or Pegasus beats Yugi and Yugi gets kicked out, and that's why Pegasus rises to the top. And he also doesn't want to take the risk that Yugi can win this whole thing outright and defeat someone like Pegasus, because why take that risk? Why risk my brother's company? I'll just get him disqualified, and it'll kind of be a loophole kind of in the deal that Pegasus had with Kaiba Corporation, and will get him disqualified. But Yugi makes a plea as he's running away, as he somehow stole his star chips. Like, where's Hondo in that moment? You couldn't stop this little kid. You're supposed to be paying attention the whole time, and no one noticed him be able to climb down from a duel stand and then run back up another one to steal that. I mean, the thing is like 12 feet high. Like, no one noticed that? Like, it was this kid, Barry Allen? I mean, like, I don't understand. But, you know, it's just one of those anime cartoon things you kind of forgive. But Yugi makes his classic hero play and saying, like, hey, I'm going to defeat Pegasus. Is this the way that you want the corporation, your brother, to be remembered for this to go on? And Mokuba makes this interesting turn that I didn't expect, where he's like, hey, you know, I'm going to trust you. And maybe Yugi spoke to him more in a Seto way of that he's seen an older brother-like figure in Yugi, of just the way he talked to him and the way that, I know Yugi made the transformation. It was really whatever, his other side of him talking, but he understood and he trusted Yugi right off the bat. And I think that takes some serious persuasion, but that also shows that the type of person that Yugi and his other side are, that when they speak, people listen and they believe. And I really do like that about the character. And so, of course, they get there, the boat should have been there for another minute or so, and the guard's like, yeah, I don't give a a rip. You know, these people are losers. They don't matter. Smacks Mokuba's star chips into the hand, which was the kid, and 2 of Yuki's star chips go into there. So, of course, I mean, Yuki's always having, whether it's Haga throwing his Exodic cards off the boat, or now 2 of his 5 star chips in the ocean, Yuki is always suffering a setback. And Yuki goes, oh, yeah, you know, if you're so tough, I'll duel you. And the guard's like, yeah, I don't duel, but, you know, if you want to duel so bad, I'll get someone to you. Come back in an hour to the kingdom, to the duelist ring. And it cuts back to present day, I would imagine, where Kaiba's making this super light computer to kind of learn about the heart of the cards, and he's understanding that there's no reason I should have lost to Yugi except if he was fighting for something greater than just wanting to win. And in that case, he was fighting for his grandfather. And I think Seto needs to understand that you need to fight for greater things than yourself. That allows you to believe in the heart of the cards, but it also allows you to believe in yourself, and it gives you kind of that extra gear, you know. It's like even in sports, like if you're fighting for something greater than just winning, if you're hungrier than your opponent, even if they're more talented than you, you can beat them. And I think Seto's trying to understand that, and maybe he's not doing it through the most orthodox channels. You know, he's saying, hey, he can, with the supercomputer, he can duel anyone and anywhere in the world, so he's going to definitely be practicing, and he puts that stuff away in the briefcase. But it's an interesting perspective of how he expects to get on Yuki's level, and I like that he is willing to learn, and he's not someone that he's stuck in his ways. He's willing to become the best duelist, and Kaiba seems obsessed with that whatsoever. And it goes to a scene where you get these guys with guns, assumingly work for Pegasus, just barge in. They want to take him in. They want to make him prisoner, kind of eliminate him as a threat. And Kaiba is like, oh, yeah, no problem. They're like, yeah, thanks for being reasonable. Boom, kicks a chair, you know, kind of just gets out of there, jumps out a window, very Daredevil kind of classic hero, like, and they're like, oh, that's suicide. Well, it saves us the chance that, you know, it saves us the trouble of having to lock him up. He's probably dead. And they see that he left his deck on the table. And so that feels very weird to me, because someone like Kaiba, who cultivated and took all the time to make that deck and to get the 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons, to get the 4th one and destroy it, why would he leave his deck there? I understand people are shooting guns at him, but you would have thought that that would have been the last thing he grabbed with the suitcase, you know, with the briefcase, as he jumped out the window. And that provides the connection, I believe, to the end of where the guards, you know, they see it, they pick it up. I don't believe that's Kaiba there, that the guard has Yugi fighting for, you know, the 5 star chips or whatever, all 3 star chips that are going to be on the line for the possibility of getting Mokuba released. I think that is some illusion, or it's some brainwash type surrogate version of Kaiba. I believe that they didn't catch him, and that some type of his soul, his energy is living on in his cards. And since they have his deck, they're able to project that somehow. I know that sounds weird. I know that sounds convoluted and very, you know, kind of off the map. What the hell is Pete thinking? I just think that if you leave the deck there and you purposely make a scene, you make a scene of the guards capturing that, and you clearly see that Kaiba is, you know, he wants revenge on Yugi, but the way he keeps chanting, I want my revenge, I'm going to have my revenge, and he has this dark image over his eyes, that, for me, ladies and gentlemen, is not Seto Kaiba. It has to be some other version of him. Either way, though, I think it's going to set up a fantastic duel what I imagine will probably be the next 2 episodes of the show. So yeah, guys, that's my very long segment here, long review on Duel Monsters Episode 8. Let me know what you thought of everything going down below. A very plot-heavy episode, I would say. So let me know how you feel it's going to shake out if you're watching it for the first time with me as well. If you've seen the shows, please, as I always say, and I will say at the end, do not spoil the show for me, especially, or anyone else down below. Please keep all your comments to very non-spoiler things. I would appreciate it. And so with that done, we're going to jump over to the GX side of the review, so I'll meet you over there. Alright guys, welcome back to the GX side of the review. This is Episode 8, The Strongest Cyber End Dragon. So, when you name the title of your episode, usually a card, you know that card is going to show up, or at least be mentioned at some point in the episode, and boy, did it show up in this episode. This is a really enjoyable episode, and I think at the surface level, you look at it and go, hey, a duel that happens between the Kaiser and Judai, it doesn't really matter. You know, it was on the cliffside, you know, there was 3 people watching, and they're all of our main characters. It doesn't really matter. No one else saw this. There wasn't tournament or life implications going on. And I disagree. I say this duel served as character building moments for Judai, for Kaiser, and for Sho. So for 3 different people, even though only 2 of them were dueling, it built each one of their characters up or showed them something that they needed to know or had to go through something that had to happen. So I really did enjoy that. So, you know, the episode starts off in classic fashion where, you know, Judai, you know, he's thinking about, you know, what Asuka said to him of like, hey, you know, there's a guy here. It actually shows actual real older brother, not just because he calls you bro. Like, they're actually blood related. And they call him the Kaiser here. He's the best out of the 3rd year students. He's in Obelisk Blue. And so Judai is filling out this kind of dual request form, which I think is really funny that not only exists at the academy, you know, as a way to kind of better yourself and kind of call people out and want to duel them, but at the end of the day, it is just a request that, especially if it's coming from the red dorm, no one's going to really take this seriously whatsoever, and it's kind of it brings this kind of mockery a little bit, and jokes of, you know, kind of bureaucracy of just like, oh, hey, here, just fill out some paperwork, and then you'll be able to progress at the school, or you'll be able to fight the opponent of your dreams, almost, like you're promising, you know, great untold riches, even though no one of the blue dorm is ever going to kind of defile their hands with someone from the red dorm. So I thought that little underlying bit there was pretty funny, and how of course Kronos has to come over again kind of re-emphasizes and reaffirms that point of like, yeah, drop by boy like you doesn't have the ability, doesn't have kind of the nobility almost to request someone from Obelisk Blue. I mean, you're going to be out of here in no time anyway whatsoever, because he has this looming tag team duel going on, but also they always believe, and Kronos always believes, that Judai is a second away from just being that classic dropout boy. I mean, we even see Obelisk Blue students, when they throw the bucket of water on Judai, saying, yeah, drop out, you know, filth, go away, basically. So Judai takes every method whatsoever after Kronos, you know, tears up his dual request application, after the boys at the blue dorm throw water on him and tell him to get the hell out of here. He wants to fight the Kaiser, and I think he wants to challenge himself, because that's what Judai's about. Judai's about challenging himself and trying to become a better duelist, and, you know, he always talking about the fire that it brings in him. You know, it's got him all fired up, and it fits with, you know, him wearing the red, and, you know, how he equated that to fire a few episodes ago when he could have went into raw yellow. But he's also doing it for his buddy, for his friend Sho. He knows that Sho is tortured by the things that his brother says, and I think if he can beat him, or at least do what he did in this episode of Sho, basically, no pun intended there, where he can be something greater, and that, you know, his brother does have respect for him. It's just that he does that whole tough love mentality. And I don't know if Judai's initial approach was that. I think he wanted to kind of beat him and maybe show that that the Kaiser isn't all he's cracked up to be, but he wanted to face him and know what he's about, and know the type of man that he is, that, you know, he's going to treat his brother like this and make the poor kid feel so bad. And it shows the respect that Judai has for his partner, not only because he's going to have to be in a duel with him and so they both don't get expelled. But I really think he likes Sho, and that's why he stayed around, and he wants to be his friend, he wants to be his mentor, he wants to be someone that can show that Sho could be more than what he thinks he could be. And so it cuts to a scene where kind of Sho he's down on himself, but he's tortured, as I talked about last review, of like, he's tortured by what his brother said of, hey, this card is off limits, hey, you don't have what it takes, you can't use this card until you have something in you of what it takes to call yourself even a duelist. And it's just over and over. He's thinking of scenarios of, my brother's right. If I am Judai's partner, he's going to get hurt. We're going to lose. And he thinks of this imaginary scenario where someone takes, Sho's kind of card and uses his specific monster against Judai. And that's what causes him not only to get expelled, but to get hurt. And Sho is kind of reliving that over and over in his head. God knows how long he's been sitting in his dorm room, and he doesn't want to do that. So, he writes a note, and he's like, I'm out of here. I'm leaving the island. I'm leaving Duelist Academy. All these places are on an island, whether it's Duelist Kingdom that I'm in right now or Duelist Academy is on an island. They're always on an island, which I always think is funny that they're kind of split off from reality and society is where they set these kids. It's kind of messed up if you think about it, because it traps them where if they want to leave or something does happen that, you can't really escape. So it's kind of a dark way of teaching kids at a school that, there's no way out. Unless you literally get expelled, which Kronos would love to see that with Judai. But it promotes Judai to go look for Sho once they see his note, because, he runs into Haito, and Haito's in the trees, and they make a very koala joke. He has a koala-like card, and Judai just makes this interesting point that's going to come up later in episodes, I imagine, not really now, of like, hey, are you getting into dueling again, Haito? Like, are you wanting to believe in yourself and practice again and stop skipping classes? And Haito's kind of embarrassed. No, it wasn't like that. I was just messing around kind of thing. But he totally is. He's totally been inspired by Judai. And Judai has this knack of the characters around him where I feel like Yuki is someone who causes people to believe in him based on the words that he says, that he's a very convincing individual. He's very persuasive, where I think Judai he can be persuasive, but he more lights the fire under people that he has in himself. Whether, as we see throughout this episode, it is Sho, or it is Haito, or it is an Asuka. Like, it lights the fire in this. People lit the fire under Kaiser in this episode. So he just has this, like, this kind of innate ability to just be contagious, and in a great way, have positivity that's contagious everywhere, and it spreads throughout everyone, and it inspires them to be their better selves. So I like that they're similar in Yuki and Judai in those cases, but that are also different, and that Judai is more of that lighting symbol, where he doesn't need to do things with his words like Yugi does to inspire people, but more so with his actions. So I like the little subtle differences in our main characters there. But with Judai, he's inspiring that in Haito, and I think we're going to see more of that going on. So, they find that Sho gives the letter, they go to find him, he's kind of, he makes a makeshift log boat on the cliffside, where he's trying to, I guess, God knows how long it is to get back to the mainland, to go find himself. And it cuts to a scene where you see Asuka and Rio, where we see the Kaiser. And Rio is someone that, he gives tough love to Sho. He might seem like a dick, but he's someone that does care about his brother. He showed, as we see throughout this episode, respect in his opponent in Judai. But he has a relationship with Asuka where I don't think it's like that romantically, but it's a mutual respect and understanding. And he gives a comment where, Asuka's still sad about her brother, probably in general, but also because recent events in the abandoned dorm probably got all those feelings coming up again. And Rio says, like, hey, it's going to come around, like, where you might see him once again. Like, so he has mutual respect and kind of, just, I would say, he's just, he's emotionally mature that he's going to respect Asuka and respect her family and respect the loss that she had, that he's going to be a friend in that moment and be someone that's not the classic dick villain character or classic rival character. It's more, he's more than that. And I really like kind of the, I guess, how he is different. He has different sides to him, different angles. There's different levels to someone like Ryo, and he's just not a one-note character, and I really do like that. So it cuts back to Judai, and Judai finds Sho because of Link Kuriboh again, because of Wing Link Kuriboh talking to him, and Haito also says, like, oh, is that one of those Duel Monster cards talking to us again? And that's how they're able to find Sho, thankfully so. And so, Sho almost drowns, he almost causes Judai to drown, and we get Ryo at the top of the cliffside. And he gives that tough love again, where he's like, oh, hey, you're running? And it's almost disappointment that he has in Sho, of like, if you're going to do it, just go. And that makes Sho just want to just shed out of his own skin. Like, he just feels like a shell of himself. Like, he wants to have, like, an out-of-body moment where he does not want to be there and have this scorn, this glare of resentment from his brother of the failure that he regards himself as, and what he thinks his brother regards him as a failure. And so that pisses off Judai, where he doesn't think that someone that's supposed to be your brother, that's supposed to be someone who loves you, should treat him like that. But it's tough love. It's just it's the way of, like, where Ryo just goes, hey, this is out of my hands. Like, Sho has to make his own decisions and be a mature adult and grow into a man, grow into a duelist. And Judai proposes angrily, like, hey, why don't we give him a parting gift? He gets what he wants. I'm surprised that Ryo actually agreed. I did not think he was going to agree to the duel. And boom, they agree to the duel. And now Sho is just freaking out, because he's not only like, hey, everything's going wrong, I'm going to leave, I'm probably going to get my bro here expelled, but now my actual brother is going to mess him up in a duel, and all of this is all my fault. Meanwhile, Sho should be realizing what he has before him, and he does as the episode goes on. And they have this great back and forth, Judai and the Kaiser, of just, the dueling is fantastic, but I like how where Judai will be fired up and he'll be like, draw, like he's yelling it, and Ryo is just very draw. Like, it's just very, like, just calm, collected, and as Sho says, very calculated. Every move he makes is for a reason. He understands what he is doing, and he brings out, Cyber Dragon right off the bat. And when, I was like, oh, of course, what kind of deck is he gonna have? Oh, of course, it's a Dragon deck. Like, I feel like almost every rival that I've seen, at least Revolver had it, Kaiba had it, like everybody, you see Jack Atlas had it, everybody has a freaking dragon who's a rival. So it's nice to see that they keep with the themes of that here in the show. I understand it's the second show, but I like seeing that as the fourth show I'm watching right now. And he deals some quick damage, bang, right away to Judai, and Judai, he's always as is, he's just excited. He's excited of what's going on, and Sho is going, my brother is merciless, and oh my god, I'm gonna get Judai hurt. When Judai doesn't have a care in the world. He loves what is going on here. Until you get to the turn, well, he likes it throughout, but I like the turn where the different dimensions capsule, and he goes, on my second turn, I'm going to put a card in here, the Kaiser says, and it's going to come out, and it's going to be something big. And I had a feeling Power Bonds was going to pop up at some point, just because Sho was watching, and hey, this is how you use this card, and this is the risk he's going to take that goes along with the card, and I really like that. And when he brought out the second dragon, and he fused them together, and he kind of had the duel, kind of Cyber Dragon, I was like, it would be cool. The Godzilla fan in me came out. What if they do like a three dragons kind of thing? We've seen multiple dragons before in these Yu-Gi-Oh shows fused together, and do like kind of like a King Ghidorah homage here. Well, they got to that later when he brings out that third card and he power bonds them, and he brings out the third card out of the capsule, and he does kind of a Mega King Ghidorah there. So I really did like that, and I like throughout the duel that in that first move, Judai, he brings out, gives the Voltic Thunder there from his elemental hero, when he brings out Sparkman, fused with Clayman there, and the Thunder Giant, and he takes Kaiser right down to 1,600 life points, and I think Kaiser, he respected that, and he gave props to Judai, to his opponent in this duel, and I like that he's not a dick. He's not a dick outright. At least he wasn't in this duel. He was more like, hey, here's the respect I'm going to give to someone who has amazing skills as well, but I'll show why I am better. And he doesn't even have to talk trash. He doesn't have anything. He just lets his actions speak for him. And it kind of meshes with what I said about Judai. His actions, instead of his words, inspire people. You see that with the actions of Kaiser, not only teaching his brother a lesson, but also not talking trash to Judai, just showing it with his actual skills on the field. And I really did like that. And I like how it shocked Show when Judai was like, yeah, I'm having fun. The Kaiser's like, yeah, me too. And he's like, wow, like my brother's having fun in a duel. He's giving respect to someone in a duel. And that's what triggered in Show. Oh, and Judai realized it as well. He's not just giving that respect to me. He's doing this duel because he's showing me that I have to have, unlike way back when with that bully, I did not have respect for my opponent, and I did not analytically think out all the possible moves that could happen. I had too much faith in my deck. That's what my brother's showing me right now, that, look at it, he's a third-year top-class student. He's the Kaiser, and he's showing this supposed quote-unquote dropout boy respect because he realizes how good Judai is. And I need to respect my opponents going forward. And it was a great lesson, great tough love lesson to Show that's going to inspire him. And it's both of his bros. The person in Judai he calls his bro, and they make a funny joke of that at the end of the episode. And his actual brother, they both give him a lesson on coming back, where I think he's going to come back as a great duelist, that it inspires him not to leave the island, to use power bonds, and to be the person that he thinks could be. And I really love that back and forth there. In the episode, and I like the respect that Kaiser shows to Judai and all the moments he has, and that you show that Judai, hey, he could have won. You know, he pulled out, Winged Linkuri, bro. You know, he did the same thing to Manjome. He could have beat him. It's a level 10 monster, but he already normal summoned with Bubble Man on that turn, and so he couldn't last till the next turn. We did get a new hero, I believe, that he summons. We get the Mud Bubble Man, which had, 3,000 at least defense points, where he summons, he fuses Clayman and Bubble Man together. So I'm pretty sure that's a new hero that we have not seen in Mud Bubble Man. But even that wasn't enough, because, when Cyber End Dragon comes out, the 3 heads, you fuse that together with power bonds, it goes from 4,000 already to 8,000 attack points. It deals damage of the difference there, which would be 5,000, and Judai can't withstand that. He couldn't make it to the next turn to bring out Winged Karibo. But I really do like how the possibility for Judai is there, that he could have just won it, but it shows the audience, it shows the characters involved that, hey, I'm close, I'm right there, but I'm not good enough yet. And for the first time ever in any of these shows, I started with VRAINS, and I'm watching Duel Monsters and GX and 5Ds, obviously. For the first time in present time, because we saw Yusei lose in the past, our main character loses. They lose. Our main character loses, and I could not be more excited and more happy that they lost, because it was needed. It was needed to happen to grow our characters, to grow our main protagonist in Judai forward, and Asuka's even shocked that he lost. But I think that he's not a character that's going to lay down. He's going to be a character that it inspires him to keep getting better. He sees why this man is the Kaiser. He even said in the first turn, look, he put attack, defense, strategy, everything into it. And now he sees why he is that top rank, and I only need to keep fighting to be better, to beat someone like that. And, so with Judai losing and the duel ending, I like that it was a scene of Asuka running after Rio and kind of, being like, hey, you're right, what'd you think, or whatever, and Rio giving respect even to Asuka once again for Judai and saying, Show, he has a good, quote, bro there. He has someone watching over him and someone who's going to inspire him to be better. Now, he doesn't say those exact words by saying, oh, he is a good bro, but in saying that I believe, he says it's a nice bro that Show has. I believe that is exactly what he's saying, and that's someone that he wants to, he can't be there for his brother all the time. He needs his brother to grow, and also I don't think he wants, blue mixing with red that much, but Judai can be that good supplement brother to kind of step in and guide Show on his journey, inspire him to be better. And then, Judai kind of says, hey, that was a great duel, but now we're going to show he's all fired up. He wants to do it again, and hey, we're going to build a deck that is revolving around Power Bond where you can use it. And he's like, yeah, I think the time for me using it being off limits, it's not that far away. I'm going to be able to use it. And he's inspired which will later be for this tag team duel. And then, you end on a great comedic bit there about the cafeteria and Haito and them all being hungry, little demons that they want to go eat and them running off to the cafeteria. So overall, guys, I love this episode. This is probably my favorite GX episode, I would say, so far out of the 8 episodes. So let me know what you thought of it down below. What do you think of the whole interaction for the first time of the Kaiser and Judai dueling, and the first time Judai loses, and for me, the first time any of our main protagonists lose? And let me know all your thoughts, predictions, theories, obviously with no spoilers. Let me know that stuff down below. So I'm going to switch over for the third and final part of this review, our 5Ds review, so stay tuned for that. Alright guys, and welcome back to the third and final part of this review. This is the 5Ds side of this review, episode 8, Unfulfilled Soul, the Signers, and the Legendary Dragon. This was a really good episode. Definitely enjoyed other episodes before this a little more, but I say my favorite parts, honestly, this episode were the sound design and the music. I thought were absolutely fantastic in this episode. The way the music or the certain sound effects would kick in for Jack's inner thoughts, for when a character would say, like when Rex Godwin would say something like really messed up, and you would get almost like that fear of music, those sound effects as he was talking of like the inevitable doom that is coming. So those were kind of my favorite parts of the episode, but the actual plot and the duel itself I thought were really great as well. It's just that other episodes, especially last episode, I think I enjoyed a little bit more, but this delved into some important points, important character developments, especially I would say with Jax and Rex Godwin. Those two critical things that happened. So starting off the episode, Himuro from last episode, the bully-like character that used to be a duelist that Yusei defeated. I really like that it seems like they're becoming friends, and he almost is his right-hand man, kind of his wingman, where he's backing him up, almost like his muscle, Yusei's muscle. If he's wondering, he's asking Grandpa, like, hey, he was caught illegally trespassing too, just like you, right? Why is he keep getting singled out? Why is he being tortured behind the scenes? What does the public maintenance department want so much with Yusei? What is going on there? And so I like how that relationship, on a very, very basic level so far, is developing. You even see it later where Yusei has to give him and Grandpa kind of a nod when, his number 88 gets called out, and he solely has to stay there with the director. With the beginning other parts of the episode, we meet the chief. First of all, I hate that he keeps pulling his nose hair out and throwing it at Yusei. It's not only just gross, it's just like, it's not intimidating at all. So like it's more, nauseous, nauseating. So like I don't understand why he would be doing that if he's trying to imitate, if he's trying to intimidate Yusei, or like just kind of, I guess it's just making someone from Satellite just uncomfortable because he hates them so much, and he even said like he hates touching them, but it's just a really weird thing. So I do hate that he is doing that, but they are torturing the shit out of Yusei, guys, in this episode. I mean, like, they are electrocuting him, they're making it, I mean, at the beginning there, when he's like, oh, search him thoroughly, I mean, those are very jail, like, rapey vibes going on here throughout, a Yugioh anime. So I appreciate the seriousness of it, and I think this is the most serious show by far. It's the oldest protagonist, as far as I know, by far. But man, that got really dark there for a second. So God knows what other things they did to Yusei, but they're looking for his mark of the Crimson Dragon, of why it's not there anymore. Yusei doesn't know why it disappeared. Nobody knows, even Rex Godwin, why it disappeared, but he definitely was marked by that dragon, and so it's curious of why he doesn't stay there like Jax does. But after he's getting tortured, and he's saying, we see how the chief really feels about the Satellite people, we get this cut to Rex and that little freaking twerp of a woman that works for him. And I hate how him and everyone around him, not Rex Godwin himself, but all the people around him, do that stupid little I hate that laugh so much. Oh my god, it is so aggravating. But, she asks, hey, did you tell Jack everything? Did you tell the king everything? He's like, yeah, that was the only way to calm him down. She's like, wow, this is going to get very interesting. And he's like, yeah, indeed. Now let's turn our attention to the man in Satellite. I want to know everything about him. So they're figuring out more, and they're the ones who are urging the chief on of researching and poking and prodding, really, Yusei. So he gets thrown back into his cell with Grandpa. He's all exhausted. He's tortured. And I like that Yusei he's different than someone like a Yugi and a Judai, especially a Judai, where he's not someone who's going to come up with comebacks and he's not going to say sarcastic things. He's very stoic. He's very strong in what he believes and in his morality and in his soul. And so as he's getting tortured, as he's getting, just really taunted, he's just staying quiet and calm, and he's taking everything in the situation. And I believe he's learning and figuring out what types of people these are and how he could defeat them, and he's calculating. And I really do enjoy that about his character. And once again, I enjoy the differences of him. He reminds me more of a little bit of a Rio right now. From GX. Not to dive too much into that review, but I didn't say in the GX review, I liked how when the Kaiser was hit, he wouldn't even he wouldn't even wince and react. He was just, he took the loss of life points. And Yusei, he definitely can react, but he'll be more on the side of not making it as dramatic. And so I like that the characters are different throughout the shows, but then you get some kind of similarities, even when it's from protagonist to probably the Kaiser being the rival. You get these mixes and these connections throughout the shows, the legacy of the shows as they go on. Fitting, because these are legacy reviews. So I really did. I do like that when you see little points like that. But again, the sound design in this episode, even when Yusei is talking to Grandpa in the cell, and Grandpa is the one that's telling Yusei for the first time, hey, I'm someone who's traveled all over the world. I went to South America. I heard the legend of the signers. Are you one? Where is your tattoo? And Yusei asks all these questions, so we get a little bit more information where Grandpa goes, well, the legend goes that you need 5 dragons to summon the Crimson Dragon out. And so then that makes Yusei think, oh, crap, I have Stardust Dragon. Jack has Red Arcfiend Dragon. Maybe we're 2 of the signers. Maybe I'm part of this legend that he is something more. I mean, a lot of Yusei's past is unknown. He seemingly doesn't even know really who he is and where he comes from. We haven't dealt too much on his past, but just when he got transported to the facility, everything beside his age of him being 18 and his name being Yusei Fudo, everything else is a mystery of where he come from, where he has come from, and who he is. So maybe he is a signer. So I did like that, and it explains a few episodes ago of why a part of the Crimson Dragon came out, because you not only had the momentum going on in the city with that crazy scientist, but you also had 2 of the dragons clashing, maybe 2 of the 5 dragons that are used to summon it. So it brings up a few interesting things. It not only explains that, but it also brings up who has the other 3 dragons. That means that's going to be 3 other characters that we have not been introduced to yet that have dragons, and all of them are going to be needed to summon that. So I really do like how it builds that, no pun intended, that momentum, that hype of future episodes of where we're going to go throughout the season. So I really did like that. We cut to Jack, and Jack, he's one of my favorite characters so far through these shows, because you know what? At a surface level, as I say with a lot of characters a lot of times, he seems very, very boring, very straight man rival. He's a dickhole kind of thing. But you know what? If you look deeper, just a little bit deeper below the surface of this character, there's something more to Jack Atlas. And he's very Seto Kaiba-like, again, alluding back to other shows, where he's haunted by losing to the main protagonist, because he would have officially, even though the duel got ended before it happened, he would have lost to Yusei. So he's like, hey, this mantra, this ego that I had of this story of being the king of duelists, right? Of being undefeated. The world might not know it, but a few of us do, and I know it most importantly. I'm not. I'm a fraud. And he even asks, am I the clown? He asks of himself. And one of Rex Godwin's assistants here, I forget her name, she's the one, she brings over information. I like how they have that, because, it's like a sport. Hey, here's information. Here's the latest playbook on how you could learn about your opponent this week. Very, football-like or any sport-like. And Jack he's distraught. We've never seen him like this, where, he's slamming his Arcfiend Dragon on the table, the card of it. He's saying, I'm a nothing, and the person saying, you must be the duel the king of duelists, and he goes, I must? Like, everything of this, of what Rex told them, of this legacy that he has to uphold, that he's a signer, that there's this greater evil coming, it's all weighing on him. And so now also adding into that, hey, am I a failure? Am I the clown that Yusei, this satellite person, someone I regarded that used to be my friend, but now I regard as garbage after I remade myself? He beat me. And so he's questioning everything now, and he's not in the right state of mind. And we see that later, that as he's preparing for the duel, he's scaring the assistant of, he's clearly not the overconfident, but in a good way for him, the ego-driven maniac that he normally is. He's questioning himself and his existence for the first time that we've seen in this show. And he remarks it later of, I've never, you got the cheerleaders, the announcers, the crowd, they love him. They love Jack, the king of duelists, right? They love him. He's an icon. He's a superstar like he would be in any sport that's going on. He's the attraction in this very duel stadium, gladiator stadium-like thing. And yet, he remarks and goes, it's never seemed so pointless, so worthless to be here. And he even regards after he wins a duel that just, this was a pointless, this duel will not quench the thirst that I have. And so he's thinking about greater things, and I really do love that about Jack. It cuts back to Yusei and Grandpa, and Yusei, kind of looking at his arm, wondering about it, wondering why it disappears. And it's funny because as much as it sucks for satellite citizens, do we look at the size of this jail cell? I mean, in normal jail cells, you have bunk beds going on. It's a very cramped, very tight quarters. They look like I have a gigantic room. They have separate beds, all this space to sprawl at it. I just thought that was really funny of like, they might treat the citizens of Satellite poorly, but man, do they get a lot of space over there in jail. So Rex Godwin, he decides to go visit the Satellite citizen, the man from Satellite, right? And so he gives, he wants to give a speech out to the Satellite citizens, and the chief, tells them all to be attentive and open your hearts and your minds basically to it. And immediately Rex, through the whole crowd, he's looking right at Yusei, and Yusei he's shocked by it. It strikes him of why Rex is really here. He's here for one man under the guise of giving a speech to everyone else. And so it cuts back to the duel, and the duel itself was entertaining. It was good, even though Jack does his classic remarks of, you have to kneel before the king, and you weren't worthy of this, and you were proclaiming that you were going to be the next king of duelists, and you're nothing. You're not even worthy to be the king after he wins. But I like the sound design here and everything because it, as I spoke to, Jack has to put on this face, right? He is the king of duelists. So to the crowd, to the announcers, to the cheerleaders, he has to show, hey, I'm the king of duelists. The announcer even says like, oh, he's smiling. He's excited for this duel. But you know what? As the audience, we know Inner Jack. And Inner Jack he's torn. He doesn't care about anything that's going on. He's not confident in himself right now. He knows he lost. And so that is weighing on him, and his supposed destiny that he must be, that he is this great signer, everything feels pointless to him. It's worthless. And I like that dichotomy is a word I always use, of the scene, of the sound design, of his innermost thoughts there, and kind of this image that he has to put on. It's a very complex thing that I did not expect out of a Yugioh anime show, and it makes me continue to love Jack Atlas and him be my favorite character. I really, really did enjoy that. So the duel, it's an old rival that, it seems like Jack has beat everyone on the block, someone who wants to challenge him, and be the reason that he loses for the first time, at least they think, and be the next king of duelists. And so they go back and forth, and, he brings out a deck that really uses a lot of effects, monster effects that deals direct damage to Jack. And so Jack, much to the audience's dismay, loses 3,000 attack points in the blink of an eye. And he seems like he is in a lot of trouble, and that the next turn is going to be his last, because Jack's first term, it seemed very lackluster, and maybe this is me reading too much into it, and you can let me know down below, but I think it was a very lackluster turn for him because he's in his own head, and he really doesn't even want to be doing this. He doesn't care, so he brings out one tuner monster, and he sets down 2 other cards that I don't even think he really uses in this duel. I think maybe he uses one of them as a trap card, the Gift Revival, I think he uses, and that's really it. Or that, actually, he might have summoned that from his hand, so let me know. I don't even think he used the 2 face down cards, or at least only maybe he used one of them. But you could see how distracted he is that he let his opponent get a 3,000 attack point jump on him. We go back to the more interesting part of the episode for me in Rex going to the facility. And so Rex is at the facility, and he's giving a speech about, as he said before privately, that, the satellite citizens and the Neo-Domino citizens, they need to coexist, but they need to be separate. And so, you exist to provide this ecosystem with each other, and you're citizens of that, and Neo-Domino citizens are citizens of that city, right? And all of it's necessary. There's a reason of why everything is necessary, right? And he equates this to this class system that we've seen, that this is the order of the world, and this is how it needs to be. So you're reaffirming in these prisoners of just, hey, this is who you are, and you'll never grow above your station, and you exist to be a lower class citizen, to provide materials to the city, to the people that are above you, to have better lives. And so we see that in actual reality, in the real world, of how this caste system throughout history and human history has kind of evolved, and usually the drawbacks and the horribleness of people on that lower, rung of the ladder. And it's Rex just kind of shoving their faces in the dirt and showing, yeah, you're worthless. You provide a useful thing to the citizens of Neo-Domino, but that's all you ever are. You're worthless in the sense that you will never rise to be above your station, because you shouldn't. Because this is who you are. You're a satellite citizen, and this is the order of the world. It's a very demeaning and a horrible way to look down on people, especially in someone who's in power, as we know, who is someone who is a part of this organization, who basically acts as the Illuminati behind the scenes, and he is someone who is the top of the public maintenance department, who seemingly has a lot of power throughout the world, at least in Neo-Domino City, as the last utopia, as he said last episode, and yet these are his views, and this is how he views the people. And he directly, as he's in the speech, he's talking to Yusei, even though he's addressing everyone. And he's saying, hey, one reckless person's actions can mean the pain for everyone else, including his friends. And it could bring down all of society. And he's looking right at Yusei, and Yusei knows that. And he brings later, when they're having their conversation, where he's like, hey, don't bring my friends into this, don't hurt them. And Rex is like, oh, you didn't bring your friends into it? Oh, basically, he's being coy with it. Oh, I wasn't kind of saying that, but he was. You know that he was purposely attacking Yusei and everything Yusei is and all the people Yusei protects. He is speaking directly to him and telling him that, like, hey, the man from Satellite that I probably don't believe is a signer, I'm going to tell you why you're not a signer, because you're garbage, and I don't believe that. And he wants to learn, as he said, everything about him. But I love Yusei's response to him, right? He just goes, oh, hey, the king is dueling at the stadium right now. And Yusei just goes, yeah, so what? And, like, the chief is like, you're going to watch your mouth. You're going to speak to him like that? No, he's like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. Like, I love that Yusei has no respect for someone like this, because think about it. If you're on the lower class rung, you're not going to have respect for someone above you. But this man in Rex Godwin, he might have addressed the whole crowd, but he directly threatened Yusei. So why would I have any respect for him? Especially when he's telling me something that I regard as so pointless. Oh, the king's dueling the stadium? Yeah, great. So what? I'm in jail because of him and you. So thanks. So I like that Yusei stands his ground there, and he has a little bit of sassiness to him. It really fits with his character. And they're wondering, where the mark is, why would the public maintenance department kind of be involved in that? And Rex is not telling Yusei why that is. And he's threatening his friends, but he's not outright saying, oh, that his friends have nothing to do with that. He's not outright saying that, like, oh, I'm not going to threaten your friends. I'm not going to outright say it, but by my words that, yes, I am. It's interesting that you don't know what I'm thinking about, and I don't know what you're thinking about. And I want to tell you more about this relationship between the city and its citizens. And I like that he says this very, very dark but illuminating thing into his character, and I think is the most interesting part about this episode, is he goes, hey, listen, I want to live in a perfect world where ecosystems coexist, but I live in reality. And if it comes down to it, you get this very ominous shot that hopefully Dylan will put on screen, where he goes, I'm willing to sacrifice one side to ensure the survival of the other. And so Yusei asks about that, like, oh, you're willing to sacrifice people? And then, Rex just brushed off, oh, just an example. But no, it speaks to exactly what he plans to do, that if push comes to shove, I will have every single satellite citizen murdered if it means me going on this quest of, I believe, sometimes the danger is as he's shaping up to be a villain. The most dangerous villains, as in a Thanos, are the one who think they are right. And Rex Godwin thinks he is right, the organization that he is a part of, he thinks that he's right, and he's preventing a greater evil that is coming to the world. And if sacrifice needs to happen to make that necessary to protect the good of everyone else, to protect the best of our society he regards in Neo Domino City, I will do it. And so he might brush it off as an example, but it speaks to exactly what he's going to do with his character, and Yusei does realize that. And so we finish out the episode with the end of the duel, which, as I spoiled if you didn't know already, but why would you be listening to this if you didn't know what happens, that Jack won. And I like when he brings out Red Arc Fiend Dragon, that it spawns two monsters on the opponent's field in defense position, because it goes right into what he's planning to do, is that he can attack those monsters, eliminate every monster that's in defense position. He then can attack those many additional times based on how many monsters. So adding two monsters over there is like, oh, I destroyed one of your monsters' defense position. I technically destroyed my own monsters, but they were on your side, two of those. So now I get 3 additional attacks to finish you off. So now while the crowd was so worried about their king losing, they're now all so just, taking in, as the announcer says, the beauty of the dragon. And they're like so excited to see that and see really the power of the king, and that he was able to wipe them out. And once Jack, kind of snapped to it and turned it on and was able to actually focus on dueling there for a second, because it did not take all his might. He's not in a Yusei duel. He doesn't need to take the full force of his ability to beat, a chump like this guy. Once he focuses, he could finish him off, knocks him out, tells him kneel before the king, and tells him, all your bragging was pointless. And as everyone is chanting Jack, Jack, as I said, he goes, this pointless duel will not quench my thirst, because he realizes that a destiny, whether he wants it to or not, is going to be forced upon him, and some greater evil is coming, and he needs to, and maybe Yusei needs to be ready for it. So guys, let me know what you thought of episode 8 of 5Ds. A really good episode. Not my favorite, but definitely I enjoyed more of the Rex and Yusei interactions in the prison, I would say, and all that information that we got, more than the duel itself, even though the duel was really good, and I love Jack Atlas. So let me know what you thought of that, Jack's inner thoughts, and also, we know there's 3 more people out there seemingly that all have dragons that will all need to factor in if we're going to revive Crimson Dragon, the god here, to kind of save the world from this greater evil that's coming. So let me know what you think about that. As always, as I say in these reviews, guys, please no spoilers. If you listen to this very over hour-long review and you are still here, thank you very much. I appreciate your support. It is great. There will be timestamps, as I said, down below for each review, so if you want to skip around, I totally understand if you don't want to listen to the whole hour and 9 minutes that I've been rambling on now. In the comments, I will talk to you below, as always, but as I say, please do not give any spoilers. I don't want to know what's happening, because it makes the experience for me better, and hopefully the experience for you better, because I can give more authentic and real reviews where I don't actually know it's coming, because that, at the end of the day, is the point of these legacy reviews, guys. So stick tuned more to Yugioh Everything, to the channel, for more podcasts and videos that Dylan will have coming out. And please, as always, come back next time for more legacy reviews. We'll be doing episode 9 next time. I hope you look forward to it, guys. I hope you have a fantastic week as this is going along. And until next time, thanks for watching.